Why decontaminate? Soil is a precious resource, just like water and air. It is essential for all human activity, provided that it is clean. In Brussels, potentially contaminating activities are monitored and result in less contamination of the soil and groundwater. Unfortunately, this has not always been the case. Brussels flourished until the 1980s thanks to its rich industrial past. There were no preventative measures in place at the time, and people were less aware of the impact these activities had on health and the environment. We need to do something about the contaminated soil. Drinking water pipes sometimes come into contact with contaminated soil through the fuel oil that leaks from domestic cisterns. It is therefore essential to clean up the soil. Likewise, vegetables are sometimes grown in contaminated soil, and this soil should be replaced with a layer of clean soil. Another example, the soil must be completely decontaminated before a park or playground is created, because in these very busy areas, people come into direct contact with the soil and the pollution it contains. Cleaning the soils also allows us to meet the demand for housing and support in the region's economic revival. If land is not cleaned, it remains fallow for decades, despite the fact that the region needs to build housing, hospitals, child care centers, and schools, and develop facilities for SMEs, thereby creating jobs and tax revenue. Cleaning soil is necessary for our health and environment, but it is also extremely beneficial to our region and its inhabitants. My land is contaminated. What do I do? Do you want to buy or sell a property? Start by looking at the soil condition chart on the Brussels Environment website. An owner selling a property must request a soil certificate from Brussels Environment and send it to the purchaser before the deeds are signed. This certificate states the obligations that must be met before the sale. The deeds cannot be signed without the certificate and without meeting the obligations in it. Have you requested a soil certificate? And has this certificate placed your plot in a Category 0? Category 0 is comprised of land that has not yet been analyzed and is considered suspect because a potentially contaminating activity takes place or has taken place there in the past. For example, dry cleaning, a vehicle maintenance workshop, or a service station. The situation of your land cannot be clarified until you have received acknowledgement of the condition of the soil. You must contact a soil contamination expert from the list of accredited experts in Brussels. This list is available on our website. The expert carries out the study by taking samples of the soil and the underground water, then having them analyzed in an accredited laboratory. If the study confirms that your land is contaminated, new studies will be needed to analyze the contamination in detail. At this stage, you can sell your property provided that you issue a financial guarantee and commit to a schedule for fulfilling your remaining obligations. The contamination must then be treated according to the polluter pays principle. A responsible person must completely remove the contamination they caused, whereas a non-responsible person will merely control the possible risks caused by this contamination. The most commonly used technique is excavation. Please note that the work must be carried out by a registered contractor that you have found in the list available on our website. Once you have met your obligations for treating the soil contamination, Brussels Environment will issue you with a final declaration stating that you have met all of your obligations. You can then sell your property with peace of mind. Premiums and financial aid. In Brussels, 80% of contamination is known as orphan contamination, which means that there is no longer a record of the operators that caused it. This is why risk management is generally the responsibility of the current landowner, even though they are not responsible for the contamination. The Brussels region is aware of the unforeseen expenditure that this unexpected liability can represent. So in 2007, it introduced premiums to help individuals and businesses meet their obligations. You can obtain a premium that covers up to 80% of your soil analysis or treatment costs. When and how can you request this assistance? The expert you have hired sends his report to Bruxelles Environnement, which checks it and then sends you a compliance notification. You can submit your premium application using our online form once you have paid the invoices of the expert or contractor. There has been a steady increase in the number of premiums awarded since 2007, and a total of €3 million have been paid in premiums over 8 years. Please contact your solicitor or authorized expert for further details. Finally, we would like to inform you that Brussels Environment officials are always available to assist you in this area. What has been done and what still remains to be done? Brussels Environment has been dealing with soil contamination issues since it was created 25 years ago. The administration soon realized that the available legislation was totally unsuitable. The biggest problem was the lack of information on the condition of the soil. Excavations were carried out randomly, and soil contamination was discovered on 1 in every 2 sites, resulting in delays to planning and sometimes even the abandonment of projects. It also led to significant damages being paid to entrepreneurs, not to mention the devaluation of properties. To manage these problems, the region created specific legislation and an inventory of Brussels soils, produced by systematically checking all 220,000 plots of land in the region. More than 6,000 plots presumed to be contaminated were studied. Half of the studied surface area was actually contaminated, and almost 1/3 of this area was treated. The rest of the contaminated area was not treated, as the contamination did not pose a risk. Over 10 years, more than 460 hectares of land in Brussels have been completely turned over to economic, residential, or recreational use. More than half the work has been completed, as it is estimated that another 400 hectares of contaminated soil still have to be treated by 2029. This land can then be used to create new business centers, residential districts, parks, playgrounds, and communal vegetable gardens. This represents a huge development potential for Brussels and an unprecedented improvement in our health and living environment.